Assalamu alaikum students. Today we'll study one more important topic of the cardiovascular system, that is the anatomy of the heart valves. Anatomy of the heart valves. As we know, the heart valves, last time we had just briefly told you that there are four valves in the heart. Okay. What is the function of the heart, the valves? They allow unidirectional flow of blood, so it prevents reverse flow of blood. Okay, so it allows blood to flow only in one direction. That is the function of the valves. So there are four valves in the heart. One is the tricuspid valve, then we have the mitral valve, or it is also called as the bicuspid valve, and then we have two semilunar valves. So one is the pulmonary valve as well as the aortic valve. Okay, so before we go to the valves, first we should know what is this orifice. Orifice, as you know, orifice means opening. So there is a tricuspid orifice. Tricuspid orifice. So it is between the right atrium and the right ventricle. This opening is called as orifice, and the flaps which are inside that opening, that will be called as valves. Okay, so you should know the difference between the orifice and the valves. Okay, so first we will discuss the orifice, then we'll discuss the important valves along with that. Okay, so the first one will be the, as the blood enters first into the heart through the superior and inferior vena cava as well as the coronary sinus. So the all the venous blood will come here from the into the right atrium, and from there it will enter the right ventricle through an opening or orifice that is called as the tricuspid orifice. If you see the shape, it is almost oval aperture. It is not round, but it is oval aperture opening between the right atrium and the right ventricle. So this is the right atrium, and here is the right ventricle. So the blood is flowing through the right atrium into the right ventricle through this opening called as the tricuspid orifice. So this will admit the tips of three fingers. If you try to pass your fingers, three tips of the fingers will enter into this. So this will determine the size of this orifice. It lies at the base of the ventricle. So as you know, the base of the ventricle is so this is the ventricle here, and near the base, this is the base, and this is the apex of the ventricles. So here it will the base. It lies at the base of the ventricle with its plane directed forwards and to the left. So as you can see here, it is directed downwards and forwards and towards the left side. Okay, because the heart, as you know, it is slightly twisted towards the left side. So this is the direction of the blood flow also, because this is the direction of this opening. So the direction of blood flow is also in the same direction. It is surrounded by a fibrous ring, a very important structure which will keep this opening patent, because the whole heart is made up of the cardiac muscle. So the muscle, usually if they are not attached, then they will be tend to collapse. Okay, so if there is only muscle around the device, then it leads to collapse of this opening. So if there is closure, so then there is extra energy needed to open this opening. So to keep this opening patent, opening always, there is a fibrous ring around this, very important. So heart has a skeleton made up of fibrous rings. Okay, so the skeleton, usually we think when we talk about skeleton, it will be the bony, but in case of heart, there is no bones, but there are fibrous structure is there. So especially around these openings. So one of the very important ring around fibrous ring around this opening, that is the tricuspid orifice, and this is guarded by the atrioventricular valve. Now inside that, to allow unidirectional flow, there is a valve here that is called a tricuspid valve, or it is also called as atrioventricle, because it is between the atrium and the ventricle. Now we'll go to this tricuspid valve. Tricuspid valve, or it is also called as the right atrioventricular, because it is between the right atrium and the right ventricle. Why it is called as tricuspid? Tri means three. Okay, because it has three cusps. They have three cusps: anterior, posterior, as well as the septal cusp. If you see here, this is the picture showing you. So these are the three cusps. This is each. This is one cusp, second and third. This is the anterior cusp. Then we have the posterior as well as the third one that is called as the septal, anterior posterior as well as the septal. So the anterior cusp separates the AV orifice from the infundibulum. So the anterior cusp here, which is here, so it will separate the AV orifice, atrioventricular orifice from the infundibulum. Where is the infundibulum? This funnel-shaped structure, which is the outflow tract for the ventricle. This is called as the infundibulum. So this infundibulum is separated by this anterior cusp. Okay. So the second one is the posterior cusp, which faces the inferior wall of the ventricle, while the septal is related to the interventricular septum. So we have the posterior here, and then we have the septal, which is towards the septum. This is the septum, interatrial septum. So near the septum, which is there, that is called as the septal cusp. So these are the three cusps. So that's why it is called a tricuspid. Okay. Each cusp is formed of a double layer of endothelium. This is common for all. So all these flaps or the cusps are made up of two layers of endothelium. One from the atrium side, one from the ventricular side. As you know, the whole of the heart is lined from inside by endothelium. Similarly, even the valve is covered by endothelium. But because it is between the atrium and ventricle, so it is covered by two layers, one coming from the atrium, one coming from the ventricle. So it is made up of two double layer. It is this double layer of the endothelium, separated by a thin layer of fibrous tissue. So these two layers are again separated by a thin layer of fibrous tissue in between. If you see, this is the picture showing you the tricuspid valve. So if you take a section at this level, then you see like this. If you remove both the atrium and the ventricular below, so these are the openings, four openings. So around there is a fibrous ring. This is the fibrous ring around. And here these are the three cusps, anterior, then we have the posterior as well as the septal cusp. Okay. And it is made up of fibrous tissue covered by two layers of endothelium, one from the ventricle and one layer from the atrium. So it is double layer of endothelium separated by a fibrous tissue. So it is non-vascular, completely it is non-vascular, means it is not supplied by any blood vessels except the peripheral two-thirds. So it is non-vascular except for the peripheral two-third millimeter of the 2 to 3 millimeters and the periphery. Periphery means this part. Okay, because they directly get the blood supply from the blood flowing through the atrium and the ventricle itself. And usually they are fibrous, so they leave lesser amount of the blood. Each cusp is attached by its base to the fibrous ring surrounding the AV orifice. As I said, so this is the AV orifice, and around that there is a fibrous ring, and these cusps are attached to the fibrous ring. So these cusps are attached to the fibrous. They are attached to the fibrous ring, and the medial part is free to move. So each cusp is attached by the base to fibrous ring around the AV orifice, and its free border give attachment to chordae tendineae of the papillary muscles. And the free borders, these free borders here, so here they are attached to something strings like structure. These are called as chordae tendineae, which are in turn attached to the papillary muscles. What are papillary muscles? Those muscles which one part of the muscles are attached and the other part is free. Free means it is attached to chordae tendineae, not totally free, but the other end is attached to chordae tendineae. So the chordae tendineae connects the papillary muscle with the medial free border of the cusp. Even the free border is not free, actually they are attached to this chordae tendineae. Okay. So its free border gives attachment to the chordae tendineae of the papillary muscles. The atrial surface of each cusp is smooth while its ventricular surface is rough and gives attachment to the chordae tendineae. So because of this chordae tendineae, the ventricular surface of this cusp becomes rough because of this attachment. But if you see here, the atrial surface of the same cusp is smooth because there are no attachments above. Okay, so this becomes smooth. So whenever these papillary muscles contract, these chordae tendineae will pull these cusps, and the blood will flow from the atrium into the ventricle. So once there is pressure increase, so again they will go back and they close. Okay. And so these chordae tendineae help in opening and closure, and they will prevent reverse flow by pulling themselves. So if there is any pressure here, so the blood cannot try to push these cusp because they are attached to the chordae tendineae. So this was about the tricuspid valve. Now from the ventricle, now the blood will try to push into the pulmonary trunk, and this pulmonary trunk is guarded by a valve called as pulmonary valve. Pulmonary valve. So now pulmonary, before we go to the pulmonary valve, this opening is called as the pulmonary orifice. Orifice is the opening, and the valve is the valve guarding around it. So first we'll talk about the pulmonary orifice. It is circular aperture. So that is circular. Okay, so if you see here, this is the picture showing you the same thing. So this is the pulmonary orifice. It is circular compared to this. See here, this is the oval in shape. This is oval, but this is almost circular. Pulmonary orifice. The circular aperture, 3 centimeters in diameter, situated at the upper end of the infundibulum, leading to the pulmonary trunk. As I said, so it is near the infundibulum and the pulmonary trunk. It is guarding here. So this is the orifice, pulmonary orifice, and these are the pulmonary valve. Okay. It lies above and to the left of the AV orifice with its plane directed upwards and backwards direction of the blood flow. It lies more medial to the tricuspid valve, and it lies above, much more above. Okay, and between the infundibulum and the pulmonary trunk. Okay, and it allows the blood to flow in upper and backward direction. That is the direction of blood flow into the pulmonary trunk. So whenever it contracts the right ventricle, the blood will be pushed into the pulmonary trunk towards backwards and upwards. It is surrounded by a fibrous ring, and it is guarded by the pulmonary valve. So it is also surrounded by a fibrous ring around, and it is guarded by the pulmonary valve. Okay. So now see the shape of the structure of the pulmonary valve. So these pulmonary valves are called as semilunar valve. These are also called as the semilunar. Both the aortic and the pulmonary valve are also called as the semilunar valve because they have the semilunar cusp. See the cusp here. This is how they look like. So these, observe, they don't have chordae tendineae. So this is the difference between the tricuspid and the mitral valve, which have chordae tendineae, and the semilunar valves, which don't have the chordae tendineae. They don't have the papillary muscle. They don't have the chordae tendineae. So they are on their own. Okay. So these are the 3 similar cusps, 2 anterior and 1 posterior. So there are 2 anterior and 1 posterior attached to the fibrous ring surrounding the pulmonary orifice, as you can see here. So it is attached to the fibrous ring. Okay, so there are 2 anterior and 1 posterior. Each cusp is formed of a double layer of endothelium, just like that of the tricuspid valve. This is also layer lined by double layer of endothelium with the fibrous tissue in between. Okay, similar to that. Structure is similar, but there are no chordae tendineae and there are no papillary muscles. Okay, the cusp forms pockets. As you can see here, these cusps form pockets. Okay, with the wall of the pulmonary trunk at its junction with the infundibulum of the right ventricle. Okay, the root of the pulmonary trunk presents 3 slight dilatation opposite the cusp called as the pulmonary sinuses. So these pockets will produce a sinus. Sinus means space inside their cusp. So this is called as pulmonary sinuses. The free margin of the cusp are directed upwards into the lumen of the pulmonary trunk, and each free margin presents a fibrous thickening in the middle called as nodule. If you see here, so this, to make it stable, this free border has a nodule, fibrous nodule, so that it becomes stable, and 2 crescentic rims on either side called as lunules. So these are the lunules on either side. So this nodule will keep this valve more strong. It's because this is a fibrous nodule and there are venules on the sides, so they don't collapse. So to prevent collapse, so there is a nodule as well as the lanules. Okay. Now going to the third orifice, that is the mitral orifice, the most important. Clinically, this is the most important because this usually get damaged and all the problems are related to that will be because of this mitral orifice. Okay, so it is a circular in outline and is smaller than the right AV orifice. It admits the tips of two fingers only. So as we saw in the tricuspid, three fingers, tips of three fingers can enter, but in case of mitral orifice, this is much more smaller, so only it can admit two fingers, tips of two fingers. So it lies vertically between the left atrium and the left ventricle, as we know. So here, this is the mitral orifice between the left atrium and the left ventricle. So this is the orifice. It is smaller compared to the right. Here they have shown the difference here, but it should be smaller. Okay, smaller than the tricuspid because it is just two fingers. Okay. Its plane is directed forwards and to the left and slightly downwards toward the apex of the heart. So the blood flow in this direction will be directed downwards and forwards towards the apex. Okay, so the blood will pushed into this region. Okay, it is surrounded by a fibrous circular fibrous ring which gives attachment to the two cusp of the mitral valve. So there is a fibrous ring around this. Okay, so this is the bicuspid, this is the tricuspid. Around the both these valves there is a pink colored structure. This is the fibrous ring around, so which gives attachment to the mitral valve. Okay, so mitral valve is also called as bicuspid because it is two cusps are there. So mitral valve consists of two cusps, one anterior, one posterior. So it is simple. So one will be the anterior, one will be the posterior. So it is called as the bicuspid, or it has a specific name called as the mitral valve. Okay, because it is more clinically get damaged, so it has a specific name. The three margins of each cusp receives chordae tendineae from the two papillary muscles in the left ventricle, as we have seen before. So here you can see again, this is the mitral. So here you can see here, this is the mitral valve. So this is the mitral valve, this is the mitral orifice. It is bicuspid, two cusp. So here also you can see, and the free margins of these valves are attached to chordae tendineae and through into the papillary muscles. So on the left side, in the left ventricle, we have two papillary muscles because there are only two cusps, and these two cusps are attached by the chordae tendineae. So the anterior cusp is larger and it is placed in front and to the right of the left atrioventricular orifice. If you see, one is larger compared to the other. So the anterior will be larger compared to the posterior. Okay. And it is placed in front and to the right of the atrioventricular orifice, intervenes between it and the aortic orifice. So it will be this anterior cusp will be intervening between the AV orifice and the aortic orifice. Okay, so if you see this picture, okay, let me show you here. So here is this here. So, okay, so here is the valve. Let me show you some better picture. Okay, here you can see. So this is the mitral orifice, and it is between the anterior cusp and posterior cusp, and here is the aortic valve. Okay, so so the anterior cusp is larger. It is placed in front and to the right of the left AV orifice. This is just defining the region where it is intervening between it and the aortic orifice. Both its atrial and ventricular surface are smooth because they are in contact with the inflow, and the outflow of the blood is in the left ventricle respectively. Okay, so both the surfaces here, the atrial and ventricular surface, as I said, so there are two surfaces. One is the atrial surface and the ventricular surface. Both are smooth here in case of the mitral orifice, the valve. Okay, so especially for the anterior cusp. Okay. The posterior cusp is smaller than the anterior because, as we know, the anterior, as we said, it is larger, so naturally the posterior should be smaller, and it is placed behind and to the left of the AV valve. It gives attachment to the chordae tendineae and its margin as well as its ventricular surface. Okay, So as you can see here, so there are chordate tendinae attached to these free margins of these two cusps. Okay, so this is the anterior leaf or the cusp, and this is the posterior cusp. Now coming to the aortic valve as well as the orifice. So here is the aortic orifice. Okay. So the aortic orifice, finally the blood has been pumped from the left atrium into the left ventricle, and now from there into it is going into the aorta. Before it goes into the aorta, from the left atrium, the left ventricle to the aorta, at the opening there is an opening here, very important. This is called as the aortic orifice. It is circular orifice, almost 2.5 centimeters in diameter, situated horizontally above, in front, and to the right of the left atrioventricular orifice. So it is present in front and to the right. So it is to right to the AV orifice. Okay, with the anterior cusp of the mitral valve hanging in between. So in between this and this, there is the anterior cusp of the mitral valve. Okay. So again, you can see this picture. So here you can appreciate that part. Okay. So this is anterior cusp, which is between the aortic and the AV orifice. Okay. This orifice, the aortic orifice, is surrounded again by the fibrous ring, as we see everywhere. So here also we have, this is the aortic orifice. So that it also has a fibrous ring around. Okay, fibrous ring, and it is guarded by the aortic valve. And you can see here again, these are semilunar valve, three cusps without any chordate tendinae or papillary muscles. Its plane is directed upwards, forwards, and to the right. As it can be seen, it is directed upwards, forwards, and to the right side. Okay. Now coming to the valve. So this is how it. If you cut the left ventricle and then see the aorta also cut longitudinally, you can see these are the three cusps of the semilunar cusp of the aortic valve. So it also consists of three cusps, two posterior and one anterior, which have similar structure to that of the pulmonary valve. If you see the pulmonary valve, it is very similar because these also don't have chordate tendinae nor the papillary muscles. So only we have the chordate tendinae papillary muscles for the tricuspid as well as the bicuspid valves. Just above the aortic orifice, the wall of the ascending aorta present three slight dilatation called as the aortic sinuses. So if you see here, so there are dilatation just like the pulmonary sinuses. As you can see here, this is the pulmonary sinus. Similarly, the structure of it is very similar to that of the pulmonary valve and sinuses. So here we have pulmonary sinuses, but in case of the aortic valve, we have the aortic sinus. This sinus means these are the pockets, spaces within which the blood can collect. Okay, the blood tries to goes back, reverse flow. Okay. So now coming to the auscultation of the heart. Okay. I wanted to show you one more. I think one slide is missing here. Let me get back to you. Let me check this. Just a minute. I think the picture is missing one. I wanted to show you. I don't know.